Okay, I'm back again to do part 2 of this page called Starcatcher in Moonlight Mischief by RH Hampson. Now I started this page with the Crayola Pipsqueaks. I didn't do a very good job of counting in the last video. There are 24 in the set that I've got here. They're very much children's markers. That you can tell by the size of my hand. They're a tiny little marker that are squat and rather chunky to hold in your hand. Very much for children, but I used them on the plate and diluted them with water like I do with the Crayola Super Tips, and this is the result of that. Now I absolutely saturated this page. That's the backing page, and you can see how crinkly and wrinkly it is. I'll just turn that over so it's easier to see. So that is the back of the page. Okay, it bled an awful lot, and if you watched part 1 you will have heard all about how I feel about that, and it does not bother me in the slightest that it is that way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some colour in, but instead of doing it very washy, I'm actually just going to apply the markers direct, and I bought these at the same time as I bought the Pipsqueaks, and they are Crayola Clicks retractable markers. There's only 10 in the set. Have never used them before, so I thought that if I can get them open, I thought that I will have a go with all the different types of markers that I've got from Crayola here, and do that as the base, and then I can come in with pencil at the end if I feel like I need pencil as well. So I'm going to try these out. I've never used them before. This is the first time I've used them, and I thought that I might have a go at just colouring directly with them and trying to blend them on the paper and see what they do. That's quite a nice yellow actually. So these are all marketed at children. They are not marketed directly to adults or as a art supply. So treat them very much as they are cheap children's budget products. Expect they could fade, basically don't expect a lot of them, and then anything that you do get out of them is a bonus. That's how I tend to think of these kids markers and so on, that if you expect the worst, anything that you do get out of it that's good is an absolute bonus. Now I can't remember even how much I paid for these, and it was only last week that I got them, but I know they weren't very expensive. Now that paper's getting really wet there with that, so I might have to let that dry off a little bit. I've got some of the blue has bled in from the background, and I'm quite happy with the result of that, so I'm leaving that for now, and I'm just colouring over it. So it's giving it that bluey green sort of tint, which is okay. It's looking all right. And we'll do the same with this guy here too, although he's looking very blue, but that's okay. This is very much an experimental page. I don't know how it's going to end up. And I just want to sit and colour and relax. So, you know, I'm basically just doing anything and everything, whatever appeals to me at the time. I'm going to give him a blue eye. So this little guy here, I think I might give him, let's see what the, I don't know if these have even got colours. There's some little colours along the top there. Here we go. Turquoise Surf. Let's give him trousers in that colour. It's very similar to what this girl here is wearing. And given that they're all Crayola products, the colour bases are probably going to be very similar in all the markers. They're not going to be wildly different, I don't believe. I might give him a yellow hat because I really like this yellow. It's very much an orangey yellow. I like that colour quite a bit actually. So that's called Marigold. And I'm going to use that for her stars. So the reason I tend to choose a lot of these children's budget priced products is that if I do leave these laying around and my granddaughter gets hold of them, I'm not going to be overly upset. Whereas if she gets hold of my, you know, Faber-Castell Polychromos or my Albrecht Dürers or my expensive markers, I will be very upset. Plus she could do some sort of permanent damage if she was to put some of those things on walls or clothes or whatever. You know, she got hold of my alcohol markers, for example. So I know that if I have these things lying around and she gets hold of them, they're not going to be a problem. And it also means that she can happily colour with me. You know, the two of us can colour together. I'm not worried about her ruining the nibs of my good pens. And she feels like she's doing something special because she's using Granny's things. So it just makes for a nicer experience with having a young child around the house. And I'm also conscious that some of us like to be frugal and some of us like to find these budget items that actually do what we want them to do without a huge cost. And of course there are people who are doing it tough and they still want to colour and they want to have their hobbies but don't have a lot of cash spare for buying huge amounts of supplies. And so I like to experiment and find out what these things can do and encourage you to use them, especially if you are finding life a little bit hard right now, because I know many of us are. We can still enjoy our hobby and we can still create some really pretty images and have a nice relaxing time still. Have a fulfilling time with our hobby, you know, but not break the the bank while we're doing it. And to be fair, even when times aren't tough, I've mentioned this to you all, but I am quite a frugal person. And if I can find something like this that serves the purpose and does what I want it to do and not cost me an arm and a leg, I'm really, you know, happy with that. This is just called Brown. I think I might just do a little bit of that. It looks like he's got sort of old boots that have all been wrapped up in leather straps. I wonder if these bleed. They are water-based, aren't they? Yeah, well, they say washable, so let's see what happens if we just put a bit of water there. And the same with the turtle. I quite like the fact that you can, you know, you can retract that away and you've not got umpteen lids and pens in your hand while you're working. It is blending very slightly, nowhere near as much as what the super tips do. So I'm not sure how how these are available, but I could only see these in a set of 10 colours. So it's not going to add much value to your marker collection in terms of adding a lot of colour in there, although I really do like this marigold quite a lot. So they may or may not be worth buying to add to your collection. This is called Magenta. That's a really pretty colour. I'll put a little bit of that into the fish. Possibly, let's have a go here with this jellyfish. So it doesn't bleed out like the super tips do. It's bleeding, but nowhere like a super tip does. I might bring in a few pastel colours as well. Getting a bit of a mess here with a huge pile of markers. My goodness, child-proof packaging, adult-proof packaging. So the pastel colours have got some really pretty colours in them as well. I'll put that water brush down and just work with them directly on the paper as markers. That's working over the damp paper, which I don't recommend doing a lot of. And this little guy here, let's get him finished. This is like a sage green or mint green. It's probably more like a mint actually. The cap looks like sage green, but we all know that caps do not always match colours. And I'm going to give her golden hair. I think with this type of illustration, it's always helpful to think in terms of the colour as getting a good balance of the colour around the page rather than necessarily creating a lifelike colour palette. Like, you know, not very rarely would you see someone with hair that colour. So if you're thinking in terms of, like I do, you know, a children's picture book, realism doesn't often come into it. It's more about having, you know, nice eye-popping colours and grabbing attention and telling a story. It's more about that than, you know, creating a realistic picture. So I guess for me, you know, RH Hampson books are pure escapism. It's an opportunity to just, you know, play with the colour, play with the different techniques. It's an Amazon printed book, so I don't get too hung up about, am I ruining an expensive, you know, $30 book. So I just get to have a play and enjoy the colours and really just make the most of it that way. So I think some of the details on here, I'll put some sparkly bits on there. So this is Copper Penny. Gosh, I can't get the lid off. So let's give him copper coloured hair. That's a nice colour. And we'll also do his little satchel. Basically in that colour, and then I'll just do the turtle bronze for a bit of highlight in there. And I think he could do with maybe a metallic button or closure on there. Once again, what I'm doing is just dotting bits of these colours all around the page so that the items on the page are having some sort of relationship to each other rather than just all standalone items. Just helps to draw your eye around the picture and help tell that little story that there's a relationship between all of these things, that they're not just random items on a page. I was thinking browns, but you know, I don't want too much brown because that might start looking a bit drab. I also want to bring in a little bit of, start bringing in a bit of green. I don't really know what I'm doing here. I'm not even trying to make this look like a real turtle. So there's no plan or thought going on here at all at the moment. It's probably quite obvious that there isn't. This one's called Puppy Beige. I'm thinking maybe creams or something like that in there. You need something a bit brighter in here. No, that might be a bit too much. What about a bit of Petite Rose? Now, once again, I have not swatched any of these. I just jump in. And that may or may not be something that you like to do as well. And I'll go back over that there. Okay. Now I want to just bring in a little bit more of this marigold in, now that I've got those other colours in there, just to help tie in this guy's hat. And possibly some of that over in the jellyfish as well. Missed a little bit of background there. Okay, so, oops, sorry, I'll just check what the time is. So it's about 25 minutes. I hope to keep this for around the half an hour mark like I did with the first one. Just so that you can just watch it in little bits if you want to. So let's get this paddle. I think it needs to have something yellow. Oh, that's quite green. I thought that was going to be yellow. And you're all shouting at me, that's why you should swatch. Because I thought it was yellow. So let's just tone that down a bit there. With that, mix those together, and there's no harsh lines. And what about grey? Sometimes when I don't want to introduce too many new colours, I will use grey as the neutral that kind of ties everything together. Because you know, grey tends to go with most things. And I'm thinking a little bit of, you know, something lavender purpley. And I'm going to put some sort of white acrylic marker on that will help highlight some of these things. Or my Crayola on the mind. Prismacolor white pencil will come in and bring some highlights back. This we'll probably do here with some pencil as well. Work out what I've got to do with these swirls. And I think next time I come back I'll bring the metallic shiny pens and things with me as well. Okay, so I think I'll call that quits for part 2, and I will see you in the third part where it will be finishing it off. So that's about an hour so far to get to that point. Okay, I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye now.